Coders, welcome to our CodeAlong. Today we're going to have a go at the project New South Wales Hide and Seek, which aims to teach people about the famous places and unique places of New South Wales. Okay, so let's start coding. The first thing you need to do is to open the starter project. The starter project you might open in one of two ways. If you're working online, you're going to click Remix. If you have access to it on a device using a USB, you'll need to open it from File. So on my starting screen, there's a few things I'm going to notice. My first is what is already on the screen in the backdrops for me. I have my starting page, and there's a little bit of code here already that we're going to start on this one. But if I click on the Backdrops tab, I will notice a whole series of backgrounds that our game is going to filter through. And the user is going to have to find Platypus, a little bit like a Where's Wally book. The other thing I'm going to notice is my two sprites that are on the screen that I'm going to be attaching code to. So we have the Parrot, who is going to be the distractor, flying across the screen, trying to stop people from finding the platypus. And the other one is our Platypus, who is going to be the hidden object on every screen. The platypus being chosen because it is the native animal emblem of New South Wales. So let's jump into our code and get started. So check that you're ready to code your sprite. Your platypus sprite will be highlighted with blue, but you'll also notice that it's in your working area. So we need to start with the event when this sprite is clicked. And when the person clicks on the platypus, we want the looks menu and the block next backdrop so that when we click on our platypus, it changes to the next backdrop. Now, I don't know about you, but I like sound in my projects as well. So I'm going to jump to the sound menu and I'm going to bring in the tab, play a sound when done. Now, at the moment, yours might not have a choice of sound in here. So let's go and choose a sound. Click on the Sounds tab up the top. Down the bottom, click on Choose a Sound. And you can scroll through the sounds, listen to them, and see what you think. I might just jump straight to the Effects menu, and chomp doesn't sound right. A big boing. Connect. Oh, perhaps I like that one. So I'm going to add that one in, jump back to my Code tab, and I can play that sound when it's done, and then I'll test it out. Fantastic. I'm going to click my green flag to go back to the beginning. The next things we need to be able to do are to tell our platypus exactly its location to go on each of these backdrops. So this time we're going to start a new event that's going to be linked to the backdrop that comes up. So for the first one, when the backdrop switches to start, we're going to tell our platypus what to do here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set its size. I'm going to set its size to what it currently is at the start of the project. And I can use the data sitting underneath here. So it's currently at 200%. So I'm going to change this one to 200%. I'm going to tell it the X and Y coordinates to go to. At the moment, once again, my platypus is sitting in exactly the location I want, minus 30X and Y minus 25, which is fantastic. I'm also going to add in a points direction. At the moment, it's pointing to my right, which is 90 degrees, which is exactly what I want to have. Now, these three are important blocks because in the next backdrops, we're going to change the size, change the location, and also possibly change the direction. So we want to make sure that we've got them set for the very first project. So the next backdrop we have is going to be the Blue Mountains. Now, I've got two ways of redoing my data here and creating the next algorithm. I can drag across each of the blocks separately again. However, I like to work easy. So I'm going to right-click my mouse. I'm going to choose to duplicate that set of blocks and drop it down. And now all I need to do is change the information on the inside to what I want it to be. So if I click my platypus now, it's going to take me to Blue Mountains. you've got two choices when you're doing this project. You can follow the information that's given to you for the code if you want to recreate the project I am making, or you can get creative and design your own. Let's start with the information I've been given. So when the backdrop switches to the blue mountains, I'm going to set the platypus to the size of 100%. I'm going to tell it to go to the x coordinate of -140 and the y coordinate of -30. And it's still going to point in this direction. So I'm going to click my green flag to go back to the start. Oh, fantastic, my platypus is now hidden in the blue mountains. Now, if you'd actually like to put your platypus somewhere else on this page, here's what you need to do. First of all, you're going to detach this part of the algorithm from when the sprite is clicked, so that now when you come into your editor screen, when you go to move your platypus around, it's not going to change to the next backdrop on you. So if I actually decided I wanted to hide it over here, I can manipulate the data here to make it do what I want it to do. So I might change it to 70% and see if I think that is small enough. And then perhaps I'm going to hide it in here. So now I've got the data of the X and Y of where I want to hide it and the size, and I could change the information within my coding blocks here to replicate that. The choice is up to you. Okay, so now we've identified how we can put the code in for each of the backgrounds and how you can have a go at creating your own hiding places. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this code back as it was, so that as I'm testing my project and going through, it's all set to go. So I'm ready to code for my next backdrop. So I'm going to right click and duplicate my code. This time I'm going to code for the harbour bridge. I'm going to set my size to 80%. In a game like this, you don't want to go too tricky too quickly. You want your player to feel like they're successful at the game. So for the first few backdrops, we're going to take it easy on them. So we want our platypus to go to the x coordinate of 80 and the y coordinate of -60, and we're going to leave them facing 90 degrees. Let's test it out. And we can see that our lovely platypus is now hiding down here underneath the harbour bridge, trying to blend in a bit at Luna Park, I think, maybe going for a ride. Let's code our next backdrop. So again, duplicate your blocks of code, drop them down here. This time, the backdrop is going to switch to some cotton. So cotton is one of the major exports in New South Wales, which is why it features in this project. This time, we're going to set the size to 50%, making him smaller and making it harder. The x coordinate is going to be 160, and the y coordinate is going to be -5. And this time, we're going to change the platypus's direction to 0. His head is actually facing the sky. Let's test it out. Can you find that platypus hidden? Maybe you can use the coordinates to help you out. 160 is somewhere on the right. -5 is about the middle. Ah, look, here he is, hanging off the stalk. Awesome. Let's go ahead and duplicate those blocks of code another time. And this time, we're going to use the backdrop of the opera house. Now, this one might have been a bit tricky for my player, so I'm going to be easy on them on the next one. Go to normal size, 100. X position is going to be 15, and the Y position is going to be -125. And I'm going to put the direction back to 90. Let's test out and see where it goes. Fantastic. Walking along the outside of the opera house, ready for a show. Now I've got one more backdrop to go, so one more duplication of sets of blocks. And this time we're going to go to sunflowers. Sunflowers being another major export of New South Wales. So much the flowers, but the sunflower seeds. This time we're going to set the size to 40%, so the smallest and the hardest one for the end. I'm going to go to x coordinate -80 and the y coordinate 90, leave them pointing in direction 90, so to the right. Let's test it out. Can you find the platypus? Okay, now that we have a successful project that we can click on the platypus to move to the next screen to find our platypus hidden, it's time to add in the distractor. And the distractor for us is our lovely Parrot. So let's go and click on the Parrot sprite. It's got a blank code platform. So our lovely Parrot, we want it gliding across the screen, trying to distract the player from finding the platypus and sometimes even going over the top of it and hiding it. So for our event, we want this to start as soon as the green flag is clicked. We want our distractor to be moving. And the very first thing we want it to do is to make sure that it goes to the front layer. So this means when it flies in the same position as the platypus, the parrot will be on top and the platypus will be hidden underneath. We're also going to set its style so that it's left to right, because as it moves around, I don't want my parrot to turn upside down because of some of the other code that we're going to put in. I'm also going to set it in a direction of 60. So this means it's going to set off on an angle, not going straight ahead, and you'll see why very soon. For its movement, we want it to happen the whole way through. So from our control menu, we're going to select forever, and we're going to tell it to move, let's go 20 steps. Now, if I was to click start now, oh no, my parrot disappeared. We need to debug that problem. And we're going to do that by adding in the block, if it's on the edge, bounce. He's moving now, isn't he? And bouncing off the edges, staying on screen, which is exactly what we want. However, that movement is far too fast. And something that I know about my parrot, if I click on my costumes tab, is that the parrot has two different costumes. So I can make it look like it's flying. Let's jump back into our code. After I've put, if it's on the edge, bounce, I'm going to say, change to next costume. Now, if I test this out, oof, far too fast. So let's add in a control block that sets an amount of wait time. And you can experiment with this wait time and see what you think is right. I'm going to try 0.25 seconds. And I'm pretty happy with that. So now, as I click on my little platypus, sometimes he is hidden by the parrot. And other times the parrot just draws my eyes away because of those lovely bright colours. So now the project is over to you. What are you going to do with your project? How are you going to change it, adapt it, improve it, make it better? Perhaps you've got some different ideas of places that are famous in New South Wales that you would like to add in some new backdrops for. Perhaps you're going to change the sprites to make them something different. Maybe you're going to change difficulty levels or add in a scoring system. Whatever you choose, this project is an idea. It's one way that you can share with others what makes New South Wales famous, and you can create your own. The Code of Origin project is unique to Australia's code clubs, and we are keen to share with you new projects every term that showcase the unique factors that make our states and territories who they are. We hope that you enjoy the projects and join us along the way. Don't forget to vote as well. Happy coding, everyone.